Welcome, viewer, to this episode of Books and Nooks of Hope. My name is Philip Guy, and I'm glad to be your host. And our guest in studio today is Tabitha Opio, a veteran, strong literature evangelist who has served in the ministry of books for many, many years. And we are glad to have you today, Tabitha. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We are glad that today we have a very, very special book for you. And the book we are talking about is none other than this book entitled Young Man by Jonathan and Anna Gallagher. And in this book, they are talking frankly about sexuality issues that affect young men in our society today. We realize that in today's society, we cannot run away from it. Our young people are pervaded by mysteries that enshroud sex all over, and there's no way we can avoid talking about it. But Jonathan and Anna have frankly talked about these issues in a very open, in a very careful manner, and that's what we are talking about today. What do you think about this book, Tabitha?
It has personally helped me because I also have a teenager, and I used this book and it really, really helped me. And one thing I also liked about this is Jonathan and Anna are a couple who also have had teenagers. So they're talking about what they have seen and what they have heard. So it is out of experience.
Yeah, I'm just looking at chapter 1, and it says in Romans 12 verse 2, do not conform yourself to the standards of this world, but let God transform you inwardly by a complete change of mind. And when you look, this book is talking about the excess of sex all around our young people today.
Yes.
How does this affect our youth in this day and age?
We have excess of sex because everywhere there is sex. If we check on social media, there's sex. TV, peer pressure, all around there's sex. So you cannot even say that your baby is safe. So this is something that we really have to talk about it because it is affecting our children either directly or indirectly. Yes.
So what's wrong with sex? What's wrong if we have sex all around?
What's wrong if we have sex all around? That was not God's intention. Sex is only meant for the married. But here we're talking about a teenager.
All right.
A teenager should not have sex, you know? So Jonathan and Anna are talking to us on how we can help our teenagers deal with this situation about sex. Because if sex is all around in songs that they sing, especially the pop songs, online, you know, how are we supposed to deal with this?
Maybe they meet this thing when they get into internet and all this kind of social media.
Exactly, exactly.
What I hear you say is that sex in itself is not bad.
Sex is not bad.
But it's God-given gift that should wait for the right time, the right place, and in the right context.
Right.
And you're saying it's within marriage.
Right.
But it's pervading all around teenagers and young men. All around us are bombarded by sex.
And it's affecting them crazily.
And so Jonathan and Anna are frankly talking to the young men about issues to do with sex and sexuality.
Right.
When I go to chapter 2, this question is, this young man is saying, I am so strange.
Right.
Why do young men feel that they are strange? To the extent of asking this question, am I strange?
I mean, think about it. We also passed through that. You know, when we were teenagers, you also want to be where everybody is. Men have their ways because girls and boys are wired differently. So with boys, like the boy or the teenager, the young man is asking himself if he's normal because he thinks so much about sex. Because that is the stage where they want to really think about sex, you know, because their hormones, everything about them is changing. Their voice, hair in the private part, their shoulders are broadening, they have Adam's apple, you know. So
and the voice deepens.
Exactly.
And this couple are even talking about wet dreams. Is this what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Everyone has fantasies. What about these wet dreams?
Wet dreams, they also have wet dreams in their age. So that is also something that really worries them. You know, when you start, you think about a girl or a lady, and then you wake up in the morning and you're all wet, you're like, what? Am I really normal?
So is it okay for a young man to ejaculate and have wet dreams in the night? It's not sin, or is it sin?
It is normal. The only problem is if you overdo it. Meaning, you know, this is something like, for instance, when a boy is little, when they wake up in the morning, definitely their penis will erect. That is really normal.
Yes.
So there are things that God just planned. But Jonathan and Anna are telling us that when you overdo it, for instance, when you overthink about a girl, and then you also, you know, it is so much in your mind, you start daydreaming.
So it moves from the night dreams into daydreaming.
Yes. Then that is not right.
So you start fantasizing about sexual issues.
You start having fantasies. And by the way, fantasies is not only for young kids. Fantasies, even adults also have fantasies. Because people have different fantasies on how they can have sex at different places. You understand? So this one, we are told that they have different times and different ways of having these wet dreams. Yeah.
So I like this book because of the questions and answer form that I find in it. If you go to page 23, I find very exciting questions here. And this person is asking, I feel sexually excited by seeing my girlfriend in a swimsuit. Is that wrong?
Is it wrong? No, it is not wrong. Because men are wired to see. You understand? But they're wired to, whatever they see gets into their mind. You understand?
So if I'm a young man,
yes,
we are going for a swimming session with my girlfriend,
yes,
and I see her in a swimsuit, and I'm sexually excited, that's actually okay.
It is okay. Because you're a human being. The only thing is, what step are you taking after that?
So what step should I take
You're not supposed to look again.
How do I avoid looking again? You just said I'm a human being.
Yes,
and I want to look again and again.
That is why we have to have self-control. Yeah, we have to have self-control to talk to our children. Because you cannot live in an island. You cannot pretend that, hey, your baby is all in the house, and so the baby is, your teenager, sorry, will not be able to see this. No.
We have to accept the realities.
We have to accept. Because if they are not going to be attracted to these girls, they're going to be attracted to the boys.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that might not be right.
That is not very good.
Let me look at this other question. This young man is asking, I think I look ugly, and to prove it, no girl ever wants to go out with me. I can't see myself having a girlfriend. You know, this is probably a young man who is aging. All his colleagues have girlfriends, all his peers, but he seems not to have one.
Yeah, probably.
Is there something wrong with him?
Nothing is wrong with him. They say beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. And no person is ugly. And I think this is just self-esteem issue. If they are talked to and told, you know what, you are a handsome person. And this goes to all the parents. You know, if we are going to be there to encourage our children, your child will be the most beautiful baby. You understand? So if you encourage your child to have high self-esteem, these are things that they will not go through. And if they go through it, just encourage them, look, you are handsome. Because if you encourage them that, you know what, you're ugly and no girl is going to see you, you're going to make your baby have low self-esteem. And low self-esteem is really bad for a child.
That can be really crushing for a child.
Really crushing, because they will not even be able to go out with that girlfriend. They will not be able to do things even that they're supposed to do, even with the group, with their friends.
I'm looking at page 29.
Right.
And picking from this text of Psalm 139, verse 14, it says, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made.
Right.
And this one talks about all the physiques of a man. I can see the private parts drawn there and explanation given to each one of them.
Right.
It talks about the 2 million sperms on average in a man.
Right.
What is this all about when you talk about the mechanics?
The mechanics actually talks about, we're still talking about sex. Yeah, if you look at the mechanics, it talks about the different steps and the process. Yeah, so we look at the first step, the first step that you see somebody and you get attracted to the person.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
So there's just that mutual attraction. You're in a crowd and you see a girl and you smile.
You find yourself attracted.
I know, you're just smiling and you're like, okay, what's going on with you, yeah? So that is the first step. And then there's also contact.
Shaking hands? Or,
yeah, there's the eye contact. You know, you can see the girl and the girl has not seen you, so that there's a difference.
So you see her, she sees you.
Yes.
You see each other.
Yes. So there's that contact, right? And then the third one is the touch.
So you touch her,
yes,
she touches you.
Yes. They said that one thing that can never lie is a touch. Yes. Because, you know, different things, there are different senses, right?
Wow.
Somebody will tell you, oh, you know what, that color is black, and another person will say it's navy blue, but touch will always...
It will always never lie.
Yes. Step 4 is a kiss.
Just a kiss.
Hello? Yes. Just a kiss. But a little, you know? And then the step 5, they say the kiss gets longer.
When you now linger.
Yes. And then step 6, they say it is touching and fondling. Step 7, it's heavy petting.
Heavy petting.
Step 8 is mutual masturbation. Step 9 is oral sex. And then step 10 is the sexual intercourse itself.
And so what are Anna and Jonathan saying here in all these steps?
You don't just rush into us. Well, this is not for the teenager, but it's good for them to know.
It's a warning to them. It guides them on what they ought
because
not.
if you're already in step 3, be worried that your chances are you will get to step 10. Step 10. So once you have reached step 2 and you're not ready for it, which you're not ready because dating is, you're not ready for dating at that time, you're supposed to look back. Yes. But she also gives very interesting illustrations on this because most of these teenagers find themselves having sex. But we know that there are consequences of sex.
Tell us about the consequences of sex. So you see that on page 35?
Yeah, we know that consequences of sex are many. One, you could be, you could get pregnant, like the girl could get pregnant. We also have different, you could have HIV or syphilis, those STDs. Yes. But I like the demonstration that she gives of a car. You know? You know, because boys love cars, right? So this is something she's using, or they are using, so that the kids or the teenagers can understand it better. So when they talk about getting into the right gear.
Okay.
When you get into your car, the first thing before you move, you have to get into the right gear, or else the car won't move.
Yes.
So now that she says, what we compare sex with, how about something that most men are in love with, that is the car, right? But first, some reservations. This is not to make connections between the car mechanics and sex. So what we are talking about is how you drive a car and how you can look after it. For if you follow the principle to safe driving and respect your vehicle, you will also follow the principle of sexual expression and respect for your body.
Absolutely.
So now when you have gotten into the right gear, you get into, okay, now that is getting into the right gear. Then the next one, they say second gear. That is on page 39.
39.
Yes. First gear, you can't go far, right? So first gear, she says, we can liken this to awareness. Yes. We talked about, you have seen a girl in the crowd. So that is page 39, okay?
Yes.
So that is first gear. Second gear, this is like the car gathering speed.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, so it moves from step to step.
Exactly.
Just like a car gear changes.
Right.
So you don't just rush into sex like that.
I like that, no rushing.
You have to wait for the appointed time.
Right.
And do the right thing at the right time.
Correct.
So
and then,
if you don't do the right thing at the right time, what happens?
Definitely the car won't move, or you'll
crash.
You'll crash, yes.
Okay.
Because if you just start a car in gear 3, sincerely, you have to start with gear 1, and then you move, right?
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, viewer. You're watching Books and Nooks of Hope, and I'm your host, Philip Guy. Our guest on studio is Tabitha Opio, and today we are looking at this book by Jonathan and Anna Gallagher, and we are talking about this book, Young Man, in this program, Books and Nooks of Hope. So sit back, relax. We'll come right back after the break. Welcome back to the program Books and Nooks of Hope. I'm Philip Guy, and your host, and the guest we have on stage has been Tabitha Opio. Just before we went to the break, we were talking about this book, Young Man, by Anna and Jonathan Gallagher, and we were talking about a very special chapter that was comparing sexuality to a car. What else did you have for us on that topic, Tabitha?
It's very interesting because, just like I mentioned, they love cars, right? So with the different gears, it tells you on what you're supposed to do. If you start a car and you start with the first gear, the car will definitely move slowly.
Yes.
And as you accelerate, that is how your relationship is supposed to be. If you put it on handbrake, that is the same thing that will happen. You are going to stop.
So you don't start a sexual relationship on a high gear?
No, you don't.
What about if you start on a reverse gear?
That is also not very good.
And does Jonathan talk about that?
He also talks about reverse gear. He talks about all the gears here. There's also crashing gear.
A crashing gear?
Yes, interesting. Because when you start on a crashing gear, what happens?
The car will crash?
The car will crash. And those are the problems that we face with relationships.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, the book is focusing really on young people and relationship, and basically on sexual relationship. Tell us about chapter 6 that actually deals with relationships. How do we handle that?
Boy child is always in trouble because a boy or a teenager is not as a girl. You know, boys are so insensitive.
Insensitive?
Yes. And why am I saying it? I don't know, maybe that's a very big word to say, because we, girls, feel that boys don't appreciate them. You look at an example of, for example, even married couples. If a woman has a new hairstyle, chances of the husband noticing it is very minimal.
I wouldn't notice that. I have many other things to do.
You just said it. So they don't notice, you know, and that is what that's a problem that girls have. We like to be appreciated.
And so he's asking here, so what do girls really want? That's on page 72.
We want attention. We want attention. You know, just like I mentioned about, you know, you come with something, or you've even changed the couch, or let's just give an example of just teenagers. You know, they have a new outfit, and you know, the boy does not notice. That really
frustrates for these young girls.
Actually, it really frustrates.
And how does that affect, how does that come into a book for young men?
This book, this is just what a boy or a teenager needs to know. So that, you know, when they have a girl, or when he has a girlfriend, and the girl starts to frown, you know, it's also very interesting. For instance, if you're going out with a teenager, and maybe you don't bring flowers, so there's the girl is not happy, then you ask her, then probably she's able to mention, you know what, you didn't bring flowers. The next time you bring flowers, she'll be like, oh, no, you brought it because I asked, right?
So what am I supposed to do?
I know, communication. And that is confusion, actually.
That brings confusion.
Yeah, that brings confusion.
And Jonathan talks about confusion here.
He really does talk about confusion. That is in page 73, on how the importance of ending this confusion. It still goes back to communication. Because, okay, you know what, this is what I like and this is what I don't like. So that one, the boy or the boy will know how to deal with this situation.
Now, if you go over to page 79,
yes,
we had actually talked about sexuality as God's gift.
Right.
But this is a young man who is struggling with sexuality. It takes us back to Genesis 1 and verse 27, where the Bible says God created human beings, made them to be like himself. He created male and female.
Right.
How does this sexuality as God's gift affect a young man?
Yeah, you know, like, just like you have read or you have mentioned, there's a lot of peer pressure. And many kids or many teenagers get confused on their sexuality. Okay. Yeah, many teenagers, especially the boys, when they don't get along with the girls, they tend to think that they're not attractive to the girls. So they end up going into the wrong relationship. You understand?
And they make wrong decisions because of that.
They make wrong decisions because of that. So when you look at what God talks about it, like especially chapter, this is page 79.
Yes.
the second chapter says, a terrible mistake to make. For as with everything God ever made, he saw that it was good, even very good. So to believe that sex is something bad is to fall into the trap of believing that lies put about by God's accusers, the devil.
Okay.
If I continue really shortly, if these lies can convince us that sex is evil, then we might as well treat it with contempt. And for those who know differently, that is an awful tragedy.
So we are not to fall into this trap of getting into celibacy, believing that sex is evil.
Exactly.
You're actually saying that there's really nothing evil about sex.
No, sex is not bad.
It's God's gift for man.
It is God's gift for man.
Only to be used at the right time, in the right place, in the right context.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's if you use it at the right time, with marriage, for instance, you won't even have to worry about, anything. But you see, with the teenagers, they have to worry about so many things because they know that this is not the right time and the right thing to do for them, and that's why they have to do. They have to go to different places, and with the peer pressure, they have to really worry about this.
Now, this seems to be a very, very powerful book. I have gone over to chapter 10 on page 127.
Right.
And I'm finding issues to do with sexual distortions.
Yes.
And I believe these are affecting many young people in this day and age.
Right.
What do we do with these sexual distortions?
We have to avoid them. Look at pornography. Yeah, this is affecting not only the teenagers, but even adults.
Even adults are affected by pornography.
Yeah, it is something that is ruining so many families and even teenagers.
Okay.
We are also talking about prostitution.
Prostitution?
Yeah, this is something that is really bad, and it is bringing different conditions, like diseases to us. And it also makes you feel low because you feel you're not even worth it. Why would you go out, sell your body, so that you get money? Or if you're a man, you use money to get sex.
So it's an aspect of placing a low self-worth upon yourself.
Yes, you don't believe in yourself. So that is what is really, really affecting us.
What about abuse? There's a challenge with women being abused a few times. Even men are abused in terms of sexuality.
That is also a distortion. So that people are really being abused left, right, and center. And some are still hiding. You understand? Some
they don't come up and say.
And yes, there's also the fact of we also talk about homosexuality.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, just like I talked about the peer pressure. When you feel that you're not being accepted this other end, you feel that the boy, if you're a boy, for instance, you want to go with your boy, with another boy, that is not what God intended. Because God created a woman and a man, So when you go the right way, things like homosexuality will not be a problem at all.
I see Jonathan and Anna put a lot of verses here from the book of Leviticus, telling us that no man is to have sexual relations with another man. And he says God hates that. That's Leviticus 18:22. I believe it's the same for women. We talk about lesbianism.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's really, like right now, many teenagers are really on it, and I wonder why. They are saying it's their right. They're saying, you know what, they had not discovered themselves. It's really interesting.
It's actually a big movement that is crossing around the whole world, and many people are going into homosexuality.
And I know parents are really having it rough because many parents don't even know that their children are lesbians. Many parents do not even know that their kids are involved in these bad, behaviors. But you only talk to your children each and every time. You don't give up.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're the only one who is going to guide your child.
Now, when you go to chapter 11, just the next chapter, it talks about the sex game, but it proceeds on to talk about HIV and AIDS.
Right.
Tell us something about this which is important for young men out there and even parents of these young men.
Yeah, HIV AIDS is something that is really now, it doesn't have the stigma that it used to have because right now people have a lot of knowledge. But we want to talk to the teenagers out there that it is real. Because right now people are taking medication and eating well, so you don't even, people don't have those symptoms that they used to have. So when you are going out with, and you're not protecting yourself,
Yes.
know that chances of you contracting this disease is very high. So we just encourage you not to do that. The best way is not to have sex, not to even have sex, because unprotected sex is even worse. You understand? And it's not only that. We have things like syphilis that is also affecting people who have sex with with people who are affected. There's also genital warts. Genital warts is really, really bad. It also affects women. So there are very many conditions when you have sex. It's called unhealthy game.
It's unhealthy game.
Yeah, it's an unhealthy game because you end up having sex. You, if you're lucky enough, probably the lady will be pregnant if you're not. If the lady is not sick. So
now, some people go out there as young people and engage in sex.
Right.
And after that, they have to battle with guilt.
Right.
Because they feel that what they've done is not right.
Right.
Probably they are Christians and they know what a Christian ought to do, and then they find themselves doing the opposite.
Yes.
What do we do with this guilt that comes as a result of trying out sex when you're still a young man?
Now, one thing, it's good to talk to God, number one. Number two, who are your friends?
Yes.
Yeah, if you, because of social media, you can, there are people that you can get groups or get people, support system that will also help you, because guilt is something that is really bad.
Yes.
Guilt can make you do things or not do things the right way, because you're always guilty that God will never forgive you.
Sure.
But we serve a God of second chance. Yes, because it doesn't matter how big or small your sin is. When you ask God, when you repent and ask God to give you another chance, He will definitely forgive you and give you another chance.
So what you said earlier is that the best thing is not to engage in sex.
Not to engage in sex.
What you're saying now is that in case you already have, you can actually go to God and ask for forgiveness, and God will give you, as a young person, a second chance.
Yes, so that you don't go back.
Okay.
Because most of the times people ask for forgiveness and they still find themselves going back. And that is mostly addiction. But again, addiction, there's also a way out of it, you know. Don't be discouraged if you have any addiction. All you need to do, if you are a teenager out there and you find yourself having sex, even if it's weekly, try not to do it weekly. Try to control it. For instance, if you're doing
do it monthly.
Well, that's true. Just like when you're doing sugar, when you have addiction for sugar, when you're doing 3 spoons, they don't encourage that you stop abruptly. You understand?
You reduce your intake.
Exactly. And with time, it will stop.
Okay.
Yeah, that really, really helps.
Now, this seems to be a very, very important book for a young man out there.
Right.
What's that one single important reason why every young man should read this book?
This is a book that will guide them. And this is a book that will guide them to be very responsible adults. Yes, because if you read this book, it will teach you on how to handle even relationships.
Okay.
That is really a problem to the teenagers. It will also teach you on how to deal with peer pressure.
Okay.
Peer pressure is something that has really, really messed up our teenagers.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Dear viewer, you have been watching Books and Nooks of Hope. This is your favorite program coming only on Hope Channel. And today we've been talking about a very, very important, very special book by Jonathan and Anna Gallagher entitled Young Man, talking to young people, especially about the hot topic, the special topic, the important topic of sexuality. This is a book that you do not want to miss. We're encouraging you to get yourself a copy, buy it, read it, and make good use of it. Thank you for watching Hope Channel, and as always, we ask you to keep in touch with us, following us on our social media as displayed on the screen, and we are glad you're watching Hope Channel. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Books and Nooks of Hope.